There's not much talking in this little clip. That's just because there's a lot of screaming going on in my head, which is normal. Alright, next step we're going to do is go ahead and install the piston pin clips, the new ones, inside the pistons here. Now I'm going to do this a specific way, trying to think ahead. Now we're going to take one of our clips, and if you look at it, the pistons are going to be left and right, of course, and then this is angled into the front of the bike. Now when they're installed, it would be really difficult to install a pin clip from that side, or a pin, or whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and put the clip on the inside. Now I've already done it on the right piston, but I'm going to go ahead and do it on the left. There's an arrow typically indicating, or a dot or something depending on what you're working on, indicating the front of the bike. So keep that in mind. So the front of the bike, left piston, this is the inside. So we're going to go ahead and put a clip on the inside here. And this is never a super simple job. I got a buddy who's an engine builder, and he can do this a lot faster than I can because he does it every day. There it is. The whole goal is not try to just mar everything up, so just try to get in there and as gentle as you can. Try to clean any aluminum out. Make sure it's seated, and then you can go ahead and whenever I install these on the bike, I'll be able to slide the pin in from that side or from the outside, and it will stop. And then from there we can put the clips in on the outsides. So definitely want to replace your clips. You can see here's an old one, and then here's a new one. You probably can't pick up any of that deformation on that. Yeah, there you can see a little bit more. But just a nice added safety measure. If you have a clip come out, man, that would be a bad day. One down, one to go. I always like to make sure I can spin the pin within the rod and piston itself, and there's no binding. Obviously that's only something you could do on a full floating setup. Some vehicles, first one off the top of my head, old small block Fords and stuff like that, those things have a pressed in pin into the piston. So anyway, you have to keep that in mind. But if it's a full floating setup, I always like to try to make sure I can rotate the pin as an added precaution. But everything's seated, pistons are on, so now it's going to go ahead and be time to install the rings. Once we get that done, we'll oil the pistons up, and then we will pull the rags out, set the cylinders on. All right, guys. As I'm putting the pistons on this thing and putting the rings on the pistons, real quick. Now it's very, very, very crucial that you align the piston rings the right way as far as up and down. Now I'm going to put a picture in because I'm not going to be able to get this to focus. But right at the end of the ring there's a little R. Now, the rings, the ring pack that you get, whatever you're working with, they're going to give you instructions on how to install it. But with this particular bike, there's a different set of rings. There's either an R set or an N set. But regardless, that letter goes on the top. Now, these are both stamped R, but I know this is the top ring because of the chrome on the outside that you can see. And then our oil ring is 3 pieces. But anyway, just as a nice reminder, once you get oil on this, it's very hard to see, so just be sure that you know which way you're installing it. Very careful. I'm basically clocking the top 2 rings 180 out, and then the lower oil control ring. I have the lower ring over here, I have the upper ring over here, and then I have the center to the side. Not that you're really going to be pushing any compression by your oil ring, or a 3-piece oil ring for that matter, but that's just how I'm going to rock it on this one. Alright, rings are on. Now it's time to pull all the rags out of here, and then hopefully we can get the cylinder on. So as you're seeing here, I've got some aluminum pieces just spaced underneath the pistons, and this just keeps them from rocking. And one on either side, and that's going to keep the crank from going up and down, and this is just going to make the installation much easier. I just happen to have some aluminum that was like that thickness, and you know, it fits well. So as of now, we're going to go get the pistons coated up. And then, since I really don't feel like fighting this too much and risking any kind of damage to the rings, I'm trying a new trick here. I'm going to show you. Hope it works well. I went ahead and I bought 2 brand new hose clamps, so they're very clean. I sanded the insides so there's no vertical grooves or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and use this as a budget ring compressor right now, since I can have both of them. Make sure that's not on top of any rings. That can slide. I'll loosen that up just a hair before we actually go ahead and slide the cylinder on, but as for right now, that time is fast approaching. Alright, just rearrange the aluminum here. Make this a little easier. This is a really easy process as long as you hold your tongue the right way. Have 8 arms, 2 hands per arm, and you're working with a northeastern breeze. Totally easy though. just shoot some more oil down the top here. Keep this nice and saturated. It's not much talking in this little clip. That's just because there's a lot of screaming going on in my head, which is normal. I see no other issues here. Go ahead and send it home. There it is. Well, all in all, the aluminum bar and hose clamp method looked pretty decent. Didn't feel like it took too long, just had to kind of figure out what it wanted to do here. But yeah, wouldn't change a thing. 3 out of 5 stars. So I'm just kind of confirming that I can feel the slot that this chain guide falls into. Make sure I know what it feels like whenever I put the head on, then I have to feed this in through it. Just wiping the gasket surface down with acetone right now. I just finished spraying the head gasket with some copper coat. Everything cleaned up. Go ahead and set the head on this thing. Alright. Again, we don't want to forget our cylinder dowels. So as you remember, dowels on the underside of the jug, dowels on the top. This aligns the head, that keeps everything aligned with the case. Don't forget those. Alright, it is time. So here we go. You'll notice the exhaust is hanging in there, just to make it easier on final assembly. And as I mentioned, I did go ahead and coat the gasket here. We're going to pull the dowels real quick. Alright, that's seated. Cam chains up, no binding. Nothing's hitting. So, go ahead and get this thing. Go ahead and start getting it torqued down. New gasket kit comes with new copper washers here. I'm just going to get these to like a real light, low base number here. Alright, there's 100 inch-pounds. I'm going to go ahead and review, come up with a plan for my torque sequence, and then I'll torque it final. Alright, I got my little cheat sheet. I'm going to go ahead and do the final torque. First pass we obviously did 100. This one I'm doubling that, going to 200. Getting some tension on it. Now we're going to jump it up to 300. Now I don't know, something that's kind of low on the torque range, such as this, I prefer this type of torque wrench because I can creep up on it and I can watch instead of waiting for that click. I do have one of those and I do use it. But instances like this, I choose not to. I feel I have a little bit more finesse. Now I'm sure you can get like a high dollar one, but that's just not in my budget. Alright. Step it up to 350. See how it feels. All right, there's 350. So that's just at the high end of the torque spec for this thing. So I'm going to call it there. And then once I run the bike, heat cycle it once or twice, I'll pull the valve cover back off and then just recheck and make sure we're not in the same situation as before. So all good here.